In Mitzvah Shem today we were doing Daf Mem Vav Amud Aleph, which is a continuation of the Gemara from Daf Mem Hey Amud Beis. So on Daf Mem Hey Amud Beis we were discussing the concept of Yesh Shvisa Chefse Hefker Koinim Shvisa Ein Koinim Shvisa. In other words, Chfeitzim, the din of Tchumen applies not only to the person where he's going to walk, but also to Chfeitzim. Now, so Chfeitzim, which belong to a person, they get the Tchum of their owner. So if, for instance, the owner will make an Eruvin in one particular direction, so then his Chfeitzim also will get the Tchumen of that particular direction. Now, Chafeitze Hefker, so there's no owner. So Chafeitze Hefker, where there's no owner, so the discussion over here is, are they Koinish Shvisa or are they not Koinish Shvisa? If we say they are Koinish Shvisa, so the Chafeitze Hefker, which are Hefker, so then you cannot remove them from the 2,000 amas from where they are. And if, for instance, they are in the city, so they will have the 2,000 amas of the Tchum of the city. If they are outside the city, they'll have 2,000 amas from whatever spot they are. So Chfeitze Hefker, if we say they are Koinish Shvisa, that means you cannot remove them from the 2,000 amas from where they were, Bein Hashmoshes of Erev Shabbos. If they are not Koinish Shvisa, so there's no such thing as Shvisa of the Chfeitze Hefker, so it's irrelevant where they were Bein Hashmoshes. And whoever picks them up, they will be able to, whoever is Zoicha in them, picks them up, and Zoicha will be able to carry them according to his own Tchum. Whatever he might have from the spot where he picked up, he might have 4,000 damas in a particular direction. And they'll follow his the one who picked it up on Shabbos or Yom Tov. They'll follow his distance. And so we were questioning. The question was, according to the opinion that Chafeitze, that if we say Chafeitze Hefker, according to the opinion, because we said it's Machloikis, whether Chafeitze Hefker are Koinish Shvisa or not, it's Machloikis between Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri and Rabbanan. So according to the opinion that Chafeitze Hefker is Koinish Shvisa, how come that if it rains on Yom Tov, the person can take it to whoever he wants? Because we had a brisa that says that when it rains on Yom Tov, you can take it to whoever you want, and that's the very same brisa is of the opinion that if it rains on Erev Yom Tov, you cannot take it out of the tchum of where it landed on Erev Yom Tov. So in other words, that brisa holds Chafeitze Hefker is Koinish Shvisa, and nevertheless, if it rains in Yom Tov, you can take it wherever you want. The person who is Zocheh can take it wherever you want. But the Chayre, that water which is rained down on Yom Tov was Bein Hashmoshes, either in the sea, which was far away, it's already outside the Tchum, or it was in the clouds. But whatever it was, whether in the sea or the clouds, there's more than, it's already past the Tchum Shabbos. So therefore, right now, you should only be able to move it to Arba Amas. It's outside the Tchum. So the Gemara answered that the the rain was in the clouds. That we know that the rain was in we know, or we can rely on the fact the rain was in the clouds already on. We can rely because it's a suffix. It's a suffix the Rabbanon. Trumit Rabbanon. We can say that on the time it was in the clouds, even ben hashmashas. So therefore, if it's the clouds, even ben hashmashas, so what we know for sure. There's two truths in the Gemara. So if we know it's the clouds ben hashmashas, so therefore it was not kind of shvisa in the ocean. That's what the Gemara says. But the Gemara is still unhappy because it was not kind of shvisa in the ocean, but it was kind of shvisa in the clouds, which is still more than the tchum. So when it comes down here on Yom Tov, it's still outside the tchum, so you can't carry it at all. Only arba. So the Gemara says that it's not even kind of shvisa in the clouds, because the way it's in the clouds, which is vaporized, etc. So it's vaporized in the clouds. So it's a different form. So since it's not the form of water, so therefore the din of kind of shvisa does not apply. So it's not kind of shvisa in the clouds. Why? Because it's vaporized and it's not in the form of water which comes down. The Lashon Gemara is umaya be'eva, the water in the clouds mivla is it's part of the clouds. It's not really an entity of water, and therefore we can't say it was koinish, that the water which is here, which is in a different form, is koinish visa. So the Gemara says, what kind of answer is that? Kolshkein the havel neilad. This is the beginning of Dafna Nalov. But if that's the case, it's even worse. So now it's neilad Assyria. Neilad is also beyond it. It means it didn't exist. You're saying it was in the clouds in different forms, therefore it didn't exist. So if you argue that the way it's in the cloud is counted as something different, it doesn't count as the same item. The moment you say it's not the same item which came down here, that means that it actually was created in Yom. If it's created in Yom, then for sure it's awesome. So you have not improved things by answering that it was in a different form in the clouds. Okay, so the Gemara says, okay, so the Gemara retracts and says, yeah, it's not considered something new, that the way it's vaporized, not vaporized, it's the same item, and therefore it's the same item, and it's considered the same, so there's no noila. So how come? Well, so that's the case. It's kind of shvisa, because this brisa have to be of the opinion that it is kind of shvisa. So how does this permit it if it rains on Yom Tov? Because it cannot be kind of shvisa. It's not stationary. It's moving. So it's moving the whole time. Something which is constantly on the move is not kind of shvisa. So therefore, if it rains on Yom Tov, it wasn't kind of shvisa ben hashmashas, and when it comes out on Yom Tov, it depends on the person who picks it up. It gets his tchum. So the Gemara says, "Hashta asel hochin." Now that you come to this conclusion that when a thing is on the move, cannot be considered kind of shvisa. So ukiyonus nami lois. The original question where we had start off the question, it was in the ocean. It was kind of shvisa in the ocean. So even if it was kind of shvisa in the ocean, that's also not a question, and because it's not, the water cannot be kind of shvisa in the ocean, because the water in the ocean is also constantly on the move. So therefore, even if we know for sure, that the rain, the rain only started in the day of Yom Tov, and before that it was still in the ocean. So even if we worked it out somehow, so nevertheless, it's not really a question, because it's not kind of shvis in the ocean. The Tanya we learned in a brisa that running water is not kind of shvisa. Naharis hamoishkin u mayana is hanoivim. So rivers which are flowing and where mayonas also, which are flowing. So when a person goes to the water and draws the water from the river, so it depends on his tchum. It has so the person that picks out the water from the river, it depends on his tchum. That water started off that day. It started off on the Ben Hashmoshes. It would have been was maybe a few miles away, so it's already past the tchum. Nevertheless, because it's 90, it's not kind of shvisa. Okay, so that's we've established that something which is 90 is not considered kind of shvisa. And that liquid also, and waters and rivers, seas are considered 90. Okay. Omar Rav Yaakov Bar Ida Omar Rabbi Shua Levi, Halacha Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri. That we had a machlokes in the Mishnah whether a sleeping person is the sleeping person he was asleep. He wasn't aware that Shabbos is coming in, and he was asleep during that whole period. So he's koine shvisa. He's koine shvisa. The Chachamim disagree. They say he's not koine shvisa. He only has the damas to walk. So the halacha is like Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri that he is koine shvisa, even though he was not mechaben to be koine shvisa. The fact that he is there is enough. We koine shvisa. So Reb Zera asks Rabbi Yaakov Bar Ida, did you hear that the Beferish that he said that halacha is like Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri in Dinei Eruvin? That's from Rashi. Did you hear that it's did you hear Beferish that Rabbi Shua Levi said halacha is like Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri in Dinei Eruvin? Or you heard it from you didn't hear Beferish, you deduced it from something else which you heard. You heard something else, and therefore you deduced that over here the halacha is going to be like Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri. Amalei, so he responded, he replied, the Ferish merely. I heard the Ferish. My klola, what's the cloud? In other words, we understand from this the question and the question answer, we understand that there was something from where you could deduce the halacha is like Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri. So there was a saying from the or an event with Rabbi Shua Levi from which one is able to deduce the halacha like Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri. And then there was what he said the Ferish, like the testimony of Rabbi Yaakov Bar Ida. They said the Ferish that the halacha in this case is like Rabbi Shua Levi. The halacha in Eruvin is like Rabbi Shua Levi. So what is the other case from where it was possible to deduce? So it's my klola. So the Rabbi Shua Levi halacha kedivra mekel be'erev. Because Rabbi Shua actually he said there's a cloud that be'erev the halacha is like kedivra mekel. Sure. So therefore we have over here Rabbi Yochanan is mekel. Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri is mekel because he says even if you're not mechamed to be koine shvisa, you're still koine shvisa. Because according to Chom, you're limited to 1,000 damas. And according to Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, you have 2,000 damas to walk. So he's the mekel. So therefore the halacha is like it. So you can deduce from that saying of Rabbi Shua Levi. But also Rabbi Shua Levi actually said the Ferish as well that halacha is like Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri in Erev. Okay. The Gemara says, why do we need the two klolim? So I'm going to say it's shrich. We need the two klolim. The Yashmein halacha Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, if would have said that the just said halacha is like Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri in Eruvin, so then Havamina would have thought that bein l'kula bein l'chumra, that the halacha is completely like, and therefore even if there's a certain chumra which works out of that, because Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri he speaks about a person without kavanah is koine shvisa, but as we learned in the previous Omer, that comes together. That opinion comes together and is maybe built on the basis, not really built on the basis. Comes together. It comes together on the fact that this shvisa, that the kelim kli hefker koine shvisa. So kli hefker koine shvisa, that comes together with that opinion of Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri. So Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri is mekel, that the sleeping person is koine shvisa. But he also holds that Kli Hefker are also Koine Shvisa. Now, when you say Kli Hefker are Koine Shvisa, that comes out to be a Chumrah, because when the person who will come and pick up this Kli Hefker is going to pick up this Kli Hefker, he may have a different tchum than the Keli. Like he may be the Keli has the Kli Hefker has 2,000 amas from where it was on Bein Hashmoshes. The person who picks it up, he may actually have may have 4,000 amas from where the Keli is lying, because he's at the edge. He's at one edge of his tchum, and he actually has another 4,000 amas in the other direction, which is, and it will not be able to take it there because the Keli has 2,000 amas in each direction, starting from the center point where the Keli was found. So the Kitzer, so it comes out to be a Chumrah. So if the Yashmin Allah that Allah that there's no need for Kavanah, has nothing to do with Koine Shvisa and things, and even though there's no Kavanah or anything like Kavanah, like if the Hefker is still Koine Shvisa. So now I thought that we rule like that. That's why we need the other halacha, which he said halacha kedivra hamekel be'erev. So therefore, if the kula will be to say that Kli Hefker are not Koine Shvisa, so we'll pass like that because that's the make. So because we follow the mekel. Okay, so if that's the case, so if we're not following Rabbi Yochanan absolutely, we're just following Rabbi Yochanan only when it's lakula. So why do we need that cloud? Just say halacha de ramekel, the lema halacha de ramekel be'erev, and halacha de Rabbi Yochanan lamali. So the Gemara answers, it's something like coming out of the thought. If you just say halacha de ramekel, I would have thought when the numbers are equal. If it's Yochid against Yochid or Rabbim against Rabbim, so and then by Eruvin will always go a kula. But if it's Yochid neged Rabbim, I would say that we follow the Rabbim. So therefore, if it's Yochid neged Rabbim, I would say we follow the Rabbim. Therefore, we need to say Allah Nuri, even though he happens to be a Yochid against the Rabbim. Nevertheless, Allah is like Rabbi Yochid Nuri. So therefore, we need this second saying that the halacha is Rabbi Yochanan because he happens to be against a rabbi. Okay, only Rabbi Abaye. So this is all Abaye. This is all Abaye saying this explanation of why you needed two klolim of why you sure we need to say the two klolim. Rabbi? No, that was Rabbi Zera. That was Rabbi Zera. Sorry. Yeah. So that was Rabbi Zera. Okay. Only Rabbi Abaye. So Rabbi says Abaye. Nirdi. Let's see. Eruvin the Rabbanon. Eruvin is the Rabbanon. So see, Rabbi is not happy with the answer of which Rabbi Zera gave, because that's not a good enough reason why we need both klolim. Why? Because how would you think that? Why would you think you should follow the Rabbi? Why would you think that Yochid Mokim Rabbi, if the klal is you go to kula, if the klal is you go to kula, so then even Yochid Mokim Rabbi should go to kula? Why? He says this. So since Eruvin is the Rabbanon, so therefore, since the Rabbanon, Mali Yochid Mekim Yochid, Mali Yochid Mekim Rabbi. If the klal is because it's the Rabbanon, the klal is that we go l'kula. So if the klal is we go l'kula because it's Rabbanon, etc., then it doesn't make a difference if it's Yochid neged Yochid neged Rabbi. The klal is the Rabbanon, suffering the Rabbanon, you go l'kula, and even if it's Yochid neged Rabbi. So that is the opinion of Rabbi, that we say the Rabbanon, we say l'kula, even Yochid neged Rabbi. And therefore, therefore, Reb Zera's explanation of why you need the two klolim Reb Shubalevi is not really sufficient. But now we're going to have a bit of an argument about this, or discussion, a bit of discussion, whether by the Rabbanon we do say we follow the Rabbi or not. Because Rabbi thinks that by the Rabbanon, even a Yochid negative Rabbi, it's a good enough suffix that we don't need to follow the Rabbi. The Papa is going to dispute that. There's no difference. Obviously, there is another element which we're going to see in a second. That is that the halacha was agreed, or like one way or the other. So if the halacha was agreed, so then of course we have to follow the halacha. But in a place where the halacha was not, it was left as it was an argument, and there was no conclusion which way the halacha is. So that is where what we're discussing. So this Vasnan Rabbi says, "Kol isha she'ara leo sholish oinais," that a woman who did not have a period for 3 times, it's already 90 days, 3 months passed, and 90 days passed, and so where she should have had the period already 3 times, and she didn't have it, so she's missed the period 3 times. So then after that she gets a period. So usually when a woman gets a period, and you're not sure there was no bdikas, etc. earlier on. So if there's no bdikas earlier on, so then she's Tomel Mafreya. So if she's Tomel Mafreya for 24 hours because maybe she already had it before it didn't come out, but it was still she was ready started, the period started. If she did a bdika, then she can check it that there was nothing there. But if she did not do a bdika, so then there may have been some, actually in the Beis HaChitzon there may have been some blood earlier on. So therefore, if she finds blood, so we go back 24 hours to her to be tummy. That means if she touched anything, those things will be tummy. So that applies usually, but if says Rabbi Lezer, if for 90 days she didn't have a period, she missed 3 periods, so then then when she sees the dam, she doesn't go back. So Tumah doesn't go backwards. And that is what we say also by women who've stopped menstruating. Women who stop menstruating, if sometimes they see dam, so they don't go. You don't go. You go from the moment which you found the dam, and you're not matana all the things they touched earlier on. Talking about older women who have stopped menstruating. But the Rebbe Lezer, he says kol isha, not just the older women. Chacham also agree with older women, but kol isha, even a young woman. So that's Rebbe Lezer's opinion, which the Chacham argue against. They say no, by younger women it will still become tomei for the previous 24 hours. Okay, so kol isha she becomes stone when she finds the blood. Tanya. And so we have machlekes by this younger woman. What is the halacha? So the Bryce, which tells a story, also Rabbi paskin like Rabbi Lezer by younger woman. He remembered, so he said. Meanwhile, that woman, there was things which she touched, whatever it is. That no. He says it's Rebbe Lezer is kedai to rely on him shas hatchak, right? And therefore, there was a shas hatchak. It was a year of hunger. It was a famine year, and since the year was a famine year, and the truma which became toma, etc., and now they ate it, whatever. He said because shas hatchak, it's a famine year, and so he relied on the opinion of Rebbe Lezer, and so it's not so bad that he gave that psak. So Kedai Reb Elazar B'Shas HaDchak. So what does it mean la'achar nizker after he remembered? What did he remember? If that there was a conclusion, and this argument of the Rebbe Elazar Chachamim, there was a conclusion, and the conclusion was that halach is not like Rebbe Elazar, the halach is like the Chachamim. So after it was concluded that halach is like Chachamim, are you trying to tell me that you can rely on Rebbe Elazar? It was concluded that halach is like Chachamim, so Rebbe Elazar is out of the halacha. After you remember that it was concluded that Allah is not Rebbe Elazar, Elok Rabbanon, so how can you do like that? How can you pass like that? How can you pass like that? Because the halacha is agreed, not like Rebbe Elazar, so that's it. So that's becomes omitted from the halacha. Shasatchak, not Shasatchak. But then El Deloit Merhilvos, like Rebbe Elazar, like Rabbi. It was not concluded the halacha whether it's like Rebbe Elazar, so it was not concluded. But nevertheless, the poil is a yochid neged Rabbi. It is a yochid neged Rabbi. So it was not. So therefore, he said. So he said, right? It was a yochid neged Rabbi. Let's see how the Gemara analyzes. So what does it mean he remembered? What do you remember? He reminded himself that he originally thought at that moment he didn't realize that Rebbe Elazar is arguing against the Rabbi. So he thought it's a machlokes Rebbe Elazar and somebody else. And so he passed on Rebbe Elazar. Then later that he reminded himself that it was a Rabbi. So that's what he reminds him. It was, but nothing. It was never concluded the halacha, which way the halacha is. So by Iman, there was a rabbi against it. Omar, so then he said, so what did he say? That you can rely on b'shas hadchak. You can rely. It's a hunger, yeah. Okay, you can rely on him. But without shas hadchak, you cannot rely on Rebbe. So that means that we see that yochid the rabbim, even though the halacha is not in a case. Even though the halacha has not been concluded like the rabbim, you still have to follow the rabbim. The shas hadchak, okay, but there's still the principle of yochid the rabbim. You apply, even it's not concluded halacha. So even but the rabbanon, and these are dinim of to be choshes backwards, etc. The be choshes backwards, that is a din the rabbanon. So to be choshes backwards is din the rabbanon, and that and so therefore, even by the Rabbanon, we have to follow the Rabbi. So that's a response against Rava, who said that by the Rabbanon, no, yeah, if it's Yochid Bokim Rabbim, suffer the Rabbanon the Kula and Gangavai. Right. This is so somebody else also speaking up to Rabbi against his opinion. That he says, but Rabbanon, we don't care about Yochid Neged Rabbi. But Tanya, of course, there's difference in Yochid Neged Rabbi. Now, these people, Papa and Nachman Yitzchak, they will justify the explanation of Reb Zera. According to them, Reb Zera's explanation of Reb Shua ben Levi's two sayings are justified. Okay, let's continue this discussion. So what's he proving? He's going to prove that we say that we have to follow the Rabbim even in the Rabbanon. Tanya, the Brisa Shmuel Kreva, if Shmuel Kreva, the person passed away, the mess, the relative passed away. So if it's a Shmuel Kreva, if it was happened, if you heard about it soon to the event, close to the event, so then the Hegel Shiva was Shleishim. Then you have to do all the dinim of Shiva, the Avelis of Shiva and the Avelis of Shleishim applying. Rechaika, if you only heard it much after the event, after Shleishim Yom, etc. So then if you heard it after Shleishim Yom, ain't in the Hegel El Yom. So then the Avelis is only knowing one day. The Ezel Kreva, Ezel Rechaika, what's considered Kreva, like close to the event, you heard about the relative died or Rechaika. Okay, who is the Mechalik, who differentiates between Shmuel Kreva and Shmuel Rechaika? It's Rebbe Kiva. So he's makel for Shmuel Rechaika, you only have one day Avelis. Chachamim, they say no difference. You always, even shvur chayka, you still have to apply the shiva. You have to do the whole shiva, the avelus of shiva and the avelus of shiva. Va'omer Rabbi Bachana Amar Rabbi Yechina, Kol Mokem. So the Rabbi Yechina said to this that Kol Mokem Shatamitzi Yochad Mekel Rav Machmirim, Halacha Kedira Machmirim, Hamerubim, Chutz Mizu. That if you find Yochad Neged Rabbim, so always Halacha is like the Rabbim, who are Machmir. Right, we're talking about the Rabbanon, right? So the Halacha is like a Machmir. Chutz Mizu. This is an exception that you're makel, like the Yochid, but normally Yochid Rabbi you go according to the Rabbi. So it's Yochid Neged Rabbi, Halacha Kedivra Rabbi Akiva, who is makel. That's what Rabbi Yechina says. And what's the reasoning of Rabbi Yechina? We don't follow the Rabbi. So like Shmuel, the Shmuel, Halacha Kedivra makel the oval, because the oval you go. That's the principle. You makel. You go to makel. The oval, the halacha kedivra mekel. So ba'veilus who the kilo rabbanon. So ba'veilus the chavim said you should go according to the mekel. Al ba'alma and the avelus is chayim from the rabbanon, but it's only ba'avelus which the mekel. Ba'alma the regular the rabbanon, film the rabbanon, shoni ben yochim ben yochim. So there's a difference, and you follow the rabbim neged the yochim.